All objects in the universe follow geometric patterns, whether it's people, trees, cats, planets, solar systems, and so on. In other words, literally everything can be measured using geometry. Thusly then, following this logical pattern, we can identify that creation too must have a foundation in geometry. Today, we'll be examining the pattern of creation to discern where all things come from. According to many sources, everything in reality is birthed from this single image. This flower of life holds immense power and is said to be the origin point of all existence. Even non-tangible things like emotions and thoughts follow a similar pattern. This pattern begins with the subtlest vibrations of consciousness, which are far beyond anything that our current technology can measure. It extends through every possible frequency and into the physical material creation. Some say that there are information systems that come out of the flower of life, likely relative to the secret ancient Egyptian chakra system. We're going to explore how the physical reality manifests, which is one of the systems. Keep in mind that this might not make sense at first. But keep an open mind and see if it resonates with you. Always have your own experience, take what makes sense to you and leave the rest behind. By learning about sacred geometry and observing it closely, you will begin to see the world in a new way. I recommend that you try drawing it yourself, as this will help you connect with your own higher understanding. The flower of life has been symbolically represented throughout history in various cultures across the globe. It was found in Ireland, Turkey, Israel, Egypt, China, Greece, Germany, India, and Iceland. The pattern has also been discovered in England, Tibet, Japan, Sweden, Lapland, Mexico, and many other places. Surely a pattern with such global significance must mean something? This pattern is called a flower because it represents the cycle of a fruit tree, not just because it looks like one. A fruit tree makes small flowers, which then turn into fruits. Within each fruit is a seed that falls to the ground and grows into another tree, completing the circle or cycle of life. The cyclical nature of reality manifests as the flower, fruit, seed, and tree pattern expressed through fairy geometry. We can relate this with many ancient wisdom teachings that already exist in more prominence on this planet. For example, we can see it in Christianity and the Hermetic teachings, which spoke on the Word of God. The flower of life is known as the source of all language, the primordial root of all vibration, which stems from pure beingness. The word Tao translates to mean the way. In one of the shortest verses in the Tao Te Ching, it states that reality is moving and changes are happening through a process of continual return. The Tao is used by following the path of least resistance. All things come from nothingness. Nothingness gives birth to being/reality. Did you get all that? The flower of life pattern is cyclical and part greater whole, reflected in numerous traditions across cultures worldwide. We can find an intrinsic unity by examining the flower of life closely. All belief systems are connected in some way, and if we take the time to look and see how, we might be able to understand them all a little bit better. Imagine consciousness or spirit floating in the void, which means it's nothingness, and then suddenly becoming aware. Pure awareness. We can't put a drawing of it because it's formless and beyond any image. Let's use this raw for now. In this space, you can't do anything since there's nothing here. You're not falling because where would you fall to? This perfection then decides to project a beam of awareness in one direction, which creates 6 directions: front/back, left/right, up/down come about from the awareness. The octahedron creates its own awareness, where now relative movement is possible in relationship to this shape. This is significant because the octahedron symbolizes the mind, and her meditators would often say that all is a creation within God's mind. So it stands to reason that this shape played a role in creating even the first sphere. The next step then becomes spinning the octahedron with such intensity that it shapes into a perfect sphere. It's important to remember that sacred geometry sprang from the first breath of spirit. The void, or nothingness, was where these forms were created, also out of nothing. They appear as though they're physical lines, but they're actually only consciousness itself. This gives us a glimpse into what reality might be, an apparition or Maya in Hinduism. Nothing more than an illusion. And yet, as the first spheres came into existence, spirit had some awareness of its surroundings. The Pisces swims to the edge of any body of water and then starts swimming in a circle. As a result, it creates an image that looks like the Pisces fish. This specific geometry is found all over the world as the Jesus fish, a Christian symbol, signifying the word's wisdom can be seen through nature's design. From a mathematical perspective, Pisces contains an overload of information dealing with proportion and depth. Furthermore, we also have the square roots of 2, 3, and 5, all infinite numbers. And lastly, geometric data about light is comprehensible. To put it simply, if there was only one sphere, none of this would be existent now. With that said, do you understand the importance or significance behind this creation pattern more? Spirit moves seamlessly to create the next circle, exactly one radius away from its predecessor. With every new sphere that comes into being, more and more mathematical knowledge emerges. The first complete image to be formed is this seed of life or Genesis pattern. If we turn to the book of Genesis, we can see that with each new creation, it could be interpreted as happening successively. For example, light is created after the first movement. The opening verses of Genesis say that the earth was dark and unformed originally. The significance of the order in which things happened is important to note here. The Spirit moved, then God spoke. And immediately after he spoke, there was light. This can be seen again when looking at the formation of the seed of life. We see this repeated pattern throughout Genesis. The now world-famous pattern known as the Holy Trinity is displayed in an innumerable amount of churches. It's also a fact that, according to the Bible, on day 4 of Genesis, starting from the first moment and moving forward, exactly half of all circles were formed. However, on day 6 something incredible happens, geometrically speaking. The sixth and final circle creates a fully formed 6-petaled flower. This ties in with the Bible, which states that creation happened in 6 days. We can see this Genesis pattern throughout nature, and it is the basis for everything we know about reality. It's important to remember that the pattern of the flower of life is constantly changing and evolving, not static. The seed of life gives rise to the tree of life, which then blooms into the flower of life. The fruit of life is disclosed from within the tree, an intriguing concept that worldwide traditions have documented in various forms, such as a tree, geometric symbol, or array of dimensions where a physical reality is but one. The tree of life is an ancient belief system that teaches how all life and creation are interconnected, much like the branches or roots of a great tree. The flower of life also produces a fifth image called the egg of life. I'll do a more in-depth video on this topic at some point, but for now let's move along with the flower, fruit, seed, and tree cycle. This form is very significant to your physical body. We discuss it in our spirit science video called Power of the Heart, where you can see how your existence began with the egg of life when you were just a clump of cells in your mother's belly. Check out our video called Power of the Heart to learn more. Now, all around the world, the flower of life was most often depicted as being completed after circles. Why that number specifically? Well, in biology, we have this protective layer that surrounds most eggs called the zone of pellucid air. This boundary functions for a time, and it is what protects the egg. The larger circles surrounding the central flower in this image are like an aura or halo, and if we remove them we can see the fruit of life pattern more clearly. The fruit of life is considered to be one of the most sacred and holy images in existence, because it is seen as a symbol of perfection. The fruit of reality was created from a combination of both masculine and feminine energies. If you recall from our last video, we discussed how masculine energy moves in straight lines while feminine energy moves in curves. The image below is an example of this concept, with the added element of Metatron ice cube to create a more complex picture. The Metatron ice cube is essential because it contains all 5 Platonic solids. These shapes were discovered by the Greek philosopher Plato and have unique features. To be a Platonic solid, the object must have these 3 characteristics: all faces are equal size, all edges are equal length, and each face has only one angle between it and adjacent faces. In addition, when placed inside of a sphere, all points on the shape will touch the edge of the sphere snugly. With that definition in mind, there are only 5 shapes that would accurately fit that description. They are as follows: the dodecahedron, tetrahedron, octahedron, icosahedron, and hexahedron. Furthermore, these 5 shapes were believed by ancient alchemists to have an elemental aspect about them too. Fire was signified by the tetrahedron, earth was the cube, air was the octahedron, water was icosahedral, and dodecahedron ether. The sphere reserved for voidness. This understanding of archetype elements does not correspond with what we know today as periodic table of elements. Although recent studies have drawn comparisons between the 2 shapes, all forces that reality is based on. Professor Robert Moon at the University of Chicago proved in the S that every element in the periodic table can be related to essential geometries. Many modern physicists, chemists, and biologists are rediscovering these same sacred geometric patterns today. In the hopes that this will help you understand, see the unity between all things. Your belief system does not matter, whether you follow a religion or if you're an atheist scientist. There is something connecting all of us,